Hello students, welcome to my class. Today, the second part of this chapter, especially we will be talking about the part called 5-year plans and industry. So this is how we can explain in this chapter, especially when we talk about the economic presence in the state or in the country. So here, 5-year plans and industry, when we talk about, certainly we need to focus especially where the agriculture is available. When there is agriculture is available, when there is a crop is grown, when there is a certain amount of things are produced from the crops, then there is a possibility of making the industry. So therefore, in this 5-year plans, the government have set the industries, and now the why the industry requires. So that is actually another very important part we will talk about. Now see, government whatever has performed or put the provisions, we have got here some of the related with the issues which is actually part of the discussion. So now 5-year plans when we talk about, and also when we include industry. So what is it the government is looking for here? Now under the plans, especially when the government has undertaken this particular plan, then the various key industries were set up, and it has been already expanded, and then also the government encouraged small scale industries, and then we have got cottage industries to generate employment in opportunities. Then today various industries such as iron, steel and cement have been set up in our country. So that produce a wide range of consumer goods. Now you have seen that a lot of produce, especially the production that we see from the different factories. Now setting up the industry, it requires a huge amount of money. Besides, to set this a particular industry, the government has to grant the land, and then government has to extend the aids, and then also the government has to select the people who are skilled on that activity, and then a lot of requirements for the industry needed. And of course the industry setting is not only the sufficient, but we need to have the industry where it is very suitable to have the different climatic condition, then this transportation. So all these factors actually matters a lot in the construction of the industry. So therefore, today whatever we have seen in this country, some extent, the government have managed to set up, and then you can see there are also different private sectors are also coming up from the different the countries. So let's discuss now about the public and a private sector. Now what is a public and a private sector? First of all, when we talk about the public which is meant for the people, and it is set by the government, and a government when it is setting here, a job orientation will be available, and also the people who are educating or the section which is required for, then they will get the job opportunity here. Besides, the other part of the this section, especially when we talk about the private sector, then here there is a different companies coming from the different parts of the world, and then they are setting up the industries, but they require the very smart, very skilled and a very professional, very experienced one. So they don't ask anyone who doesn't know the job. So therefore you can see, before this public and a private sector, our country was actually practicing the mixed farming, mixed economy. Mixed economy in the sense that there are varieties of things at the same time is grown and at the same time produced. So there from the different sources the industry was actually functioning. So let us now, under the mixed economy, key industries that required heavy maintenance for the task of setting up and maintaining them were left in the hands of the government, while the private players were actually allowed to venture into producing consumer goods such as electrical items. Now here you see such an arrangement did not leave any room for incentives to the private companies, and to get license to set up industries. So thus there was not much industrial development in the country. Now see, when you keep the limitation, when you only when you allow these things to happen, then perhaps the company may not be setting up the industries, and a company may not be coming to your country. So that is actually very important. So here what happens, when government realizes that the government alone is not possible to make people give the job and all. Today, for example, many people are studying and trying to get the job and all. But the government, how much a job can create in a year? So very little, because the government is ultimately functioning with the help of the tax money, revenue. So whatever the revenue is collected, hope it is they are not utilizing for the good purpose. Maybe nowadays many politicians are buying the politicians. So from one political party to another political party, people are shifting, and sometimes the powerful politicians are buying the MLAs, MPs. So in that way, the money is actually spent, but not for the good purpose of the country. So very little money is spent, and we have seen now, especially whatever the government sector is having nowadays, all these government sectors are actually handing over to the private sectors. So now, for example, a person who is educating himself, a person who is trying to graduate himself to get the job, it's not possible for him, because he has to either work in the private sector, or maybe he has to go to somewhere in abroad country and all. So within this year, whether you realize or not, within this year, so many lakhs of people, maybe 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 3 lakhs, lakhs people are actually moving from our country to other part of the world, and they are going and working in other countries. So that is the thing actually happening. It means the people who are skilled, people who are very much smart in that job, they don't have this job orientation in India. So nearly 2-3 years, when you see the status, then you will come to know that many of the youths who have been really skilled themselves, they are just leaving country, India, and then they are going to the other part of the world. So that is the data we can find in every year. So now, another part that we have got here, that is the era of liberalization. What is the era of liberalization? Now you see, in 1991, what is saying that the government in India changed its economic policy to give way to liberalization. Now, liberalization means like a company which is coming from the other part of the world, and you allow them to settle, and then you see here, it allowed foreign companies to invest in the Indian economy and do business in the country. So the government, especially allowing this other foreign investors or the business people to set their industry in India, and then allowing them to do their activity here, especially. So additionally, the rules and regulations on private companies were eased with the new business houses in the country. They generated new employment opportunities, and the country was actually transformed into one of the leading economic powers in the world. So when you allow this liberalization to invest that money in the country, then certainly there will be many of the youths who are skilled themselves, then they can get the job in the country. So therefore, it is the very very important issue, in fact, to provide the job to the people in this way. So therefore, era of liberalization is one of the factors that is actually we find in this time. So that is in the year of 1991 onwards. So now, economy in a contemporary era. Now see, despite various development in the Indian economy, several problems such as poverty, unemployment, and inflation continue to exist in the country. On the one hand, many people do not have jobs, and on the other hand, the prices of all the necessary items have been increasing. So now what we have to do, this wide gap in the price of goods and purchasing powers of the people have been pushing a lot of people towards the ambit of poverty. So this 3 years, it is very much crucial year because this COVID pandemic. Now you have seen those people who have saved the money, who had already this saving account and all, but now you won't see that money is in the account, because all this money have been actually used for their surviving, for eating and medicines like that. So therefore, you can see people are actually now becoming the very much like a kind of like a hunger. Hunger have already strike in the country. So these are the few things that we have to keep in mind. Now see, the government have given some of the some projects, or some the government has taken some measure to make people little bit some extent to relieve. So here, various anti-poverty and employment generation programs. Now I don't know how far it is successful. Then you have got like example, rural housing, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, and integrated rural development programs have been introduced by the government. Now you must remember, suppose you are constructing the road, but today most of the roads are actually constructed with the machine only. So how many people are getting the job? It is, you know, maximum jobs are actually the common people supposed to do. Those jobs are done by the one single machine. So now that's why a big number of people are actually jobless. So if they want to even join, but it's not possible, because everything is done by the machine. Earlier the people used to do, and then a big number of people used to get the job, and then they used to survive somehow. But today big number of people have got no jobs at all, because the machine, a single machine is saving all this activity. So that's why when you say that Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, when you look this one, sometimes I feel this is a joke. Okay, so under loan granting schemes such as the Credit Guarantee Fund scheme for micro and small enterprises, and Mahila Udyan Nidhi loans have been granted to people to help to establish their own businesses. Bank, we are depending on the bank also not giving any sort of like a support like that, because the bank needs the proper documents, bank needs your land. If you don't have land, the bank is not giving any sort of thing. If you have the less salary, suppose you are working in some private school or some private college, and suppose you are earning 10,000, bank will not give you any sort of like a loan for maintaining your business and all. So it's a problem. So unless you have to show that you have got something very big, none of the bank will provide you. So these are all almost everywhere. Actually, we see the fake things are happening, and the government is just providing this type of like schemes. So skill development and training programs such as Skill India have been conducted by the government to help people gain professional qualities that are required to beg employment opportunities. How many places the skill development training have been provided? We have not heard. Okay, so employment exchange have been open to inform people about availability of jobs. Employment allowances have been provided to the people who have been unable to find work. All small scale and cottage industries have been actually promoted to generate employment opportunities in rural areas and curb migration of the people to urban areas. So almost the project or the provision that is government is making have got no much like effect. So these are all actually, it could have been really happening, then this number of people could have not been simply loitering around. So however, these are all actually the government is actually providing, but the implementation and then people involvement is not seen. There is no record of that. Okay, so this is the last chapter that we are completing. I hope you will be reading this chapter and you will understand. Okay, so very simple chapter, read through once again. Thank you.